If you are involved in political YouTube at all, then you have probably already seen what we're going to be talking about today. You've already seen Kanye West or Ye and Nick Fuentes and Milo Yiannopoulos storming off the set of Tim Pool's podcast because he gave them, like, the smallest amount of pushback on whether or not Jews were controlling the entirety of the planet. So, if you've already seen that, then this is not going to be anything new to you. What we're going to do, actually, is I'm going to take a quick look and see how two different news outlets compare the story of what happened. And, of course, we're going to look at the clip from when that happened as well. Because I always find it interesting to see how more left-leaning news sources like, say, Daily Beast cover things compared to the way that, say, Fox News does. So, we're going to take a look at the fan art section, then we're going to look at the clip, and then we're going to look at the way this is reported on in both situations. Anywho, as always, let's go ahead and pop into the fan art section. This first one is from a Nubian. They said that they did an 8-bit art of Sunset City. Everyone draws it near a body of water, so I did as well. Well, there you go. The next one we have here is from Fire Sparks. Decided to make a Slime Suris movie poster. Hope you like it, and could read the description on it when you look at it, if possible. Oh, dear. This is going to be a bit hard to read, but let's go ahead and take a look at it. So we have the movie poster right here with the washer has arms and legs now, and Timer-kun. Description. A simple life for a slime will be more chaotic. Okay, hold on.
A simple life for a slime will be more chaotic. The slime gets the attention of a hard-working clock and a house-cleaning dryer. Both bring in chaos into the slime's life. But each have a good heart and a burning rivalry between each other. Can this slime handle all the drama and chaos between these two gentlemen? I guess, maybe, potentially. Anyways, in a world with Dryer-kun. We'll go to the next one. And then this last one is the Slime Suris freeing himself from the jar from Ivana, and Slime Suris hungers. This terrifies me. I'm going to see this in my nightmares. I'm going to make a creepypasta about Slime Suris, and it's going to just have this as the thumbnail. Y'all are weird. I appreciate all of you, but y'all are strange people. Anywho, as always, everyone, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the clip real quick of what happened. Because, again, if you haven't seen this, it's gold.
I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking about.
It is them, though, isn't it? I mean, because
No.
because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
Are you referring to the press?
He's gone. I'll say it right now. You guys want to bring that stuff up? And then
have
think
the
we're not going
discussion.
to have a conversation?
Like, have the discussion.
Like you think he's going to come in here and say, here's my pain, here's my suffering. I'm going to say, I hear you. And then he's going to say, and it was Jewish people. And I'm going to be like, okay, but don't you consider, it's like, I'm not going to do this. I refuse.
Go, make sure he's cool.
All right, go for it. Luke and I don't use the word as...
Is that Milo? Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Glenavolt, thank you very much for subscribing at Tier 1. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, what we have there is Kanye West escaping conversations with Tim Pool. And I'm normally not a fan of Tim Pool, but when he gives him the little bit of pushback on, you know, Jewish people controlling the entirety of the world,
he immediately just goes, no, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. There was another clip that I wanted to show that was... I think it's this one here. Let's go ahead and pull this one up.
Fair to you, I think.
Who is
Jewish people, and I'm going to be like, okay, but don't you consider fair to you? I think.
Who is they though? We can't say they is, can we?
Press. I'm not using the. I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking.
It is
about
them, though, isn't it?
Been extremely unfair to you. I think.
Who is they though? We can't say they is, can we?
Press. I'm not using the. I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking.
It is
about
them, though, isn't it? I mean, because because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
Are you afraid of the press?
He's gone.
Yep, he's just gone.
I'll say I'm going to be like, okay, but don't you consider? It's like, I'm not going to do this. I refuse. Been extremely unfair. I'm going to say, I hear you, and then he's going to say, and it was.
Okay. So Salem, that is still the clip. That is still the clip. There we go. And then of course the co-host Luke gave his impression of what happened afterwards.
Outside, they're in the car, and I'm like,
They're leaving?
And I'm like, let's let the best idea win. You don't owe us anything. Let's have this conversation. And essentially, he said, you don't believe in my truths. Like, this is my truth. You guys are denying it, and I don't want to have outside. They're in the car.
So summation of everything that happened here, from my perspective. Nick Fuentes, Milo Yiannopoulos, and Kanye West, they want to have the discussion of Jews controlling the world and Jews inconveniencing them. And it's the Jews. It's whenever they say they mean the Jews. That's why Kanye wants to go like, oh, but it's, we can't say who they is, can we? And then Tim has to go, I mean, I'm not using they the same way you use they, because when he's using they, he's not trying to mean Jewish people, but when Kanye and Nick Fuentes do, they do mean Jewish people. Why do you think Kanye made his whole tweets about, like, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jews? And then, of course, Nick's entire show is just a Holocaust-denying, anti-Semitic pile of drivel. And, I guess Milo Yiannopoulos was there as well. Dude who's interning for my representative here in Georgia, because of course he is. Mikachu, thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. But Shade says, anyone remember the concert where he just left? Anyone remember the concert where he just left when he was on a large flying platform? He just kind of said nope and had them pull him back in. No. I try not to remember every childish tantrum that people have. So, Milo is Yee's campaign manager, I thought. Milo also served as an intern under Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's been wearing a lot of hats lately. He's also trying to campaign for conversion therapy being a viable thing in the United States again. Because in his mind, he got ungayed, so yeah. Salem says, I don't understand the appeal of the Nick Fuentes guy, because regardless of the bigoted trash he says, just how he talks in general makes it apparent he's an idiot and kind of dumb. But Salem, don't you want a guy who talks to you like this and is just always talking about how, while he's never gotten laid, he definitely knows that women are inferior? And how he knows that the Jews are definitely controlling the world? Wait, Yee was gay? No, Milo. You don't want that? You don't want that? For a whole show? Every other day? Oy, oy, oy. Now, we have the clip there. We have the absolute pathetic portrayal there of all three of them. The minute a little bit of pushback is given on their ideas on Jewish people, that happens. They just up and leave. Now, it should be noted that there's a series of instances going forward with this of people that you don't like people that I'm not a big fan of basically, what's the meme where it's like, oh no, the worst person you know just made a great point? Jordan Peterson has been going on record on Twitter lately, because of course he's got Twitter again. He's been going on record on Twitter talking about how Jews are the canaries in the coal mine, as it were. Basically saying that when anti-Semitism is on the rise, when people feel a better ease of which, like, they can slide into anti-Semitic rhetoric, that is usually the precursor to all of the worst things. When people find anti-Semitism to be a moral necessity. Marianne, he didn't call it a moral necessity. He said when it becomes a moral necessity, that is the moment where things are going bad. That is the moment where shit hits the fan. I do not like Jordan Peterson. I think he's an idiot and a bigot, but at the same time, when he says something that is true, we, as human beings, as thinking, living, breathing people who know how to give both benefit of the doubt, Mary Arand, I understand the want to immediately jump on that. Would you like me to tell you what I'm talking about? Here, let me explain. I want you to rewind the clock. You, right now, rewind the clock. You're in Nazi Germany. What is considered the moral thing to do there to the average Jewish person? The moral thing for your state is to get them locked in the internment camps. The moral thing for your family is to protect your family by outing Jews that are in your area. The moral thing to do, as far as what your community is telling you, what the propaganda is telling you, what everyone around you is imposing on you, the moral thing that is being asked of you, the thing they are saying is moral, is to out the Jewish people. That is what they are doing. It becomes a moral necessity because morals are the things that we agree are good in society. When everybody in your society starts agreeing that oppressing Jews is a good thing, that is the signal fire that shit is hitting the fan and things are going terribly, terribly wrong. That is what that tweet means. We do not do this shit. We do not do this shit of taking people who we know for a fact are idiots, we know for a fact are terrible people, and trying to drag them to the dirt when they say something that is still correct. The sky doesn't stop being blue just because Jordan Peterson says it's blue one day. The statement is true. When anti-Semitism is a moral necessity in your society, shit has hit the fan, things are bad. He is correct in that statement. The fact that people like Kanye and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alex Jones and everyone get to enjoy the death of the euphemism, get to enjoy their anti-Semitism more publicly without as much public backlash, that is a signal fire that things are going horribly wrong in our society. That's what that tweet reads. That's what it says. I've listened to a lot of bullshit from Jordan Peterson over the years doing this channel. This is one of those times that I think he's correct. I don't want him to be. I don't like when people I don't like are correct. It's much more convenient for me when they're wrong. But we are not going to do the thing as people. Said, given his previous comments, Jordan Peterson is all too happy to join him when it becomes a moral necessity. Again, that is one statement, but that is divorced entirely from the statement that he said. I could pull it up, too, if you want me to. We read that statement in the vacuum it was said in. We read that statement with the context in which he said it in. Again, it is better for me. It is more convenient for me. It is easier for me to side against everything that person says because I don't like him and I don't think he's a good person. But Let me find the exact tweet. We will go over it before we get into the other stuff. Here you are. We will do the thing where we look in the entire context. Jews are the canaries in the coal mine. When anti-Semitism becomes a moral necessity, even in its subtler forms, hell is about to make its appearance yet again. Statement 1, Jews are canaries in the coal mine. They are usually some of the first people who we have very, very blatant historical reason to believe that if hatred against them is happening, shit is going to be bad. We have seen Nazi Germany. When anti-Semitism becomes a moral necessity, which is about your society agreeing that oppressing Jewish people is a thing that you must do, which is what happened in Nazi Germany, hell is about to make its appearance again, like happened in Nazi Germany. There's nothing sussy about this phrasing. The only thing that makes this phrasing sussy is if you have a predisposition against Jordan Peterson. And I have that predisposition against him. I have a huge predisposition against this person. It is our job as people who care about politics and care about the truth and care about doing things the right way. It is our job to recognize when someone is saying something that is true and correct and does not mean harm. This is one of those situations. 99% of the shit Jordan Peterson says can be harmful, is stupid. This is not one of those things.
They tried to lock me up. That's what, because every time I'm just holding stride, and it's like, I thought I was more Malcolm X, but I find out I'm more MLK, because as I'm getting hosed down every day by the press and financially, I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost, but I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you.
Who was they, though? We can't say who they is,
corporate
can we?
press. I'm not using I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking
It is
about
them, though, isn't it? I mean, because because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like,
So, the full context there is him basically saying that Jews are hosing him financially. Jews are trying to get him sent to jail. Jews are harming him. So that we have the full context as to why Peterson is saying the things he is saying here. This is why he says even in its subtler forms. Because note, the anti-Semitism here was literally, can he not call it a moral necessity? Mary Arend, what part of... Okay, I have a question. What does moral necessity mean to you? What does moral necessity mean to you? I don't know how long I can stay on this exact same this same tangent, this same thread. But I will get this figured out, because I think that it does a disservice if we don't. He did not call anti-Semitism a moral necessity. That is not what he did here. There is no part of this that calls anti-Semitism a moral necessity. He is saying that when it becomes a moral necessity, which is when your society demands anti-Semitism of you. That is what a moral necessity is. A moral necessity is when your society demands it of you. It does not make it right. It does not make it good. Again, I have parsed through hours of this man's flowery language. Salem says, to rephrase it for understanding, when society starts to think that anti-Semitism is a moral necessity, hell is about to make its appearance again. Cool. We can shoot Jordan Peterson in the foot for using his flowery language here. But again, we are not going to do this thing where we throw people under the bus for things they didn't fucking say. I'm reading the same thing you're reading. Chat is reading the same thing you're reading. Everybody is reading the same thing. Shade says, it sounds like Peterson is saying people are picking on the poor conservatives for rightly calling out the Jews. How do you read that here? How do you read that out of this one? How do you read that here? The only way I can read that is if I am reading this purely from a predisposition against Jordan. Which, again, I already have that. I'm taking that into account. So I'm just confused how we get there on the statement in a vacuum within the context in which it was said. It depends who you think Jordan's attempting to protect when he said canary. So, the statement on its surface is Jews are a canary in a coal mine. Do you know what a canary in a coal mine means? Do you know what that statement means? Miners would send canaries down shafts in coal mines, and if they came back, the air was fit to breathe. If they didn't come back, they died in the coal mine, which means that there was a leak of some kind of chemical, and it was not safe for them to go down. When anti-Semitism becomes a moral necessity in your society, that is your canary in the coal mine. That is your warning shit is bad. That is the statement. Front, back, and center. That is it. I'm not going to sit on this any longer. And I would hope the breadth of content that I have done covering this guy, and I still need to get through the rest of his conservative manifesto. I still need to get through the rest of his manifesto. Because I only did part 1, and I still want to get through the rest of the damn thing. But it's because I have consumed a decent chunk of Jordan Peterson content that I'm just sitting here like, no, I don't see the problem with this one. So the canary was the sacrificial lamb to test the air for toxic gases. Yep. What's that old poem? First they came for the blank, then they came for the blank. Finally they came for me, and there was nobody to stand for me. Salem says, are they going to fight each other or still keep hating on the left? Like when people break into their anti-Semitic and not anti-Semitic sections. So here's the thing. I think they have those fights right up until election time. I think those fights matter up until election time. As soon as they get to the election point, it stops mattering. Unfortunately, we have a two-party system here. So no matter how fascist the right becomes here in the United States, they're going to have a following because there's people who identify with Republicanism, whether or not they have good reason to. Zangle Demon says, I hope by Jordan Peterson's use of hell, he actually means the Holocaust was bad. So, here's the thing. There is a thing that has been happening, if you guys have not noticed, and that is that there are two sides of the conservative coin in the United States at the moment. The side that is willing to embrace anti-Semitism and the side that is not willing to embrace anti-Semitism. Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro are on the side that is not embracing anti-Semitism. Low bar to clear, I know. Isn't Peterson a Holocaust denier? No. When has he ever done that? Hold on. So, everything I'm pulling up when I look up Holocaust denial for Jordan Peterson is just about how his remarks are Nazi adjacent. And yeah, a lot of his remarks end up favoring fascism. Because he is still in that hyper-conservatoid side of the internet. 110%. However, when the line in the sand is drawn in flagrant anti-Semitism, that's not an area that he is stepping through. That's not a line he is crossing. That's not a line Ben is crossing. Candace Owens has crossed that line and has tried to say that things that, Kanye West have said are not anti-Semitic. Candace Owens has crossed that line. Shapiro and Jordan have not. Again, anti-Semitism is a really low bar to clear. It's so easy to not be anti-Semitic. It's insane. Hyperlight Spark says, when did Candace Owens cross that line? Candace Owens crossed that line when Kanye got knocked off Twitter for saying that Jews, he was going to go DEFCON 3 on Jews. Candace Owens came to Kanye's defense at that point, and Ben Shapiro had to make a public statement saying that he did not agree with Candace Owens. He also sucked her toes during the entire thing, going, one of the great things about being part of the Daily Wire is we can disagree on things. But Candace crossed that line in defense of Kanye. Ben Shapiro did not cross that line. The interesting thing for me is seeing which conservatives slot themselves on which side of that aisle. Fuck, she just had to go too far? She's been going too far for ages, but a lot of people are advocating for Kanye because they are fans of Kanye, without realizing that they are literally just... they are just enabling his own anti-Semitism. Like, at this point, it's a feedback loop. Ben needs to be less complicit with anti-Semitism, though. The issue with Ben Shapiro, I mean, aside from the myriad of other issues with Ben Shapiro, my issue with people like Ben and Jordan Peterson is their rhetoric often enables people who are anti-Semitic. It emboldens them, but in more euphemistic ways. So, like, if Ben Shapiro talks about the media elite in Hollywood, people are going to hear... if they're like regular normies, they're just going to hear, oh yeah, media elite. But if you're already an anti-Semite, you hear Jewish people. You hear Jews controlling Hollywood. And then, yeah, there is also a dog whistle here from Jordan Peterson. The eternally successful minority eternally raises the hackles of the envious and malevolent. Which, eternally successful minority, I can read that very easily as Jewish people. I can. Again, though, that doesn't diminish the point that I made earlier. Our argument was about a single statement, a statement that, again, was not an anti-Semitic statement. He can make a statement afterwards that can be viewed that way. As I said, 99% of the stuff that Jordan Peterson says can enable these people, and can be bad, and is bad. But if our disagreement is on the words said in one statement, we talk about the one fucking statement. We don't move the goalpost. We never move the goalpost. We criticize the right when they move the goalpost. We can and should be better. We do not have to move goalposts to win. We merely need be correct and stand our ground. You will find yourself a lot happier in life if you do that. I have learned over several years. This is where I also should point out that the idea that, like, we should normalize people being able to say racist things out in public, else it just festers down. No. I've seen people disagreeing with that point on a video I made before, and I'm just gonna say once again, no. When we enable those discussions in public forums more and more often, we just reinforce that these are okay things to talk about. So Prager says he's a Jew, but he seems ready to throw other Jews under the bus to curry favor with Christian fascists. Yes. Yeah, that's been a Dennis Prager problem for a while. Avalon says, I want to know who's racist so I can cut them out of your life. Trashcan says, I disagree. When you don't hear it, you don't think it. I don't know what that statement means. Avalon says, I just want to know who's racist so I can cut them out of my life. I disagree with cutting them out of your life, though. I am more of the opinion that it is cutting those people out of your life instantly. It isolates them and it puts them in echo chambers where the only places that they can find friends, the only places they can find people to talk with are other racists. That just makes them more racist. That digs them further and further into their echo chambers. It digs them further and further into various forms of racism. I am not for enabling that behavior. I am for trying to dig people out of there. I am trying to dig people out of those behaviors. I could easily stop focusing on my main channel, focus on Suris Video, and then just make videos over there. I'd make a little less money initially as that channel is growing, but the Shadow video hit 15,000 views on its own. On a channel that is infinitely smaller than mine. I know what the upwards potential of that channel is if I focus on it. And it's way higher than my main one. But I think there's infinitely more value in trying to make sure that people... in trying to engage in harm reduction. Okay. Now for the actual thing I was planning on doing in the video. Now for the actual thing I was planning on doing in my video. We are going to take a look and see how this moment with Yi and Fuentes and everybody, we're going to see how it was framed by Fox News. And then we're going to see how it was framed by a more left-wing news article. Because I am curious how this coverage is going to be different. Nami, I do use OBS to record the videos, yes. I do indeed. So, from Fox News, Kanye West abruptly leaves Tim Pool's podcast while discussing anti-Semitism charges. We're going to look at the titles between the two and see how they differ. Kanye West storms out of interview after Tim Pool lightly defends Jews. Okay? The two titles basically get across the same idea. Now, on to the Fox article. Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, went viral on Monday after he stormed out of an interview when being confronted about his anti-Semitism. The embattled music superstar has been under fire over the past several weeks for his rhetoric towards Jewish people, particularly when he declared going on DEFCON 3 on the religious group. Ye surfaced on the news last week when he brought known anti-Semite and white nationalist Nick Fuentes to a meeting at Mar-a-Lago with former President Trump, who has been facing intense backlash for dining with two such controversial figures, especially since he announced his 2024 candidacy. I'm going to be honest, for Fox News, this is already pretty solid. Jesus Christ. They're not pulling punches. On Monday, Ye joined Fuentes and right-wing provocateur turned Ye campaign 2024 manager Milo Yiannopoulos on Timcast, where host Tim Pool touched on the past comments and his meetings with Trump. Yeah, I know they're all in on DeSantis, so that's probably why. At the beginning of the discussion, Ye revealed that his meetings with Trump was scheduled before the DEFCON 3 tweet, but was delayed, and that former president had no idea who Nick Fuentes was. Ye quickly spewed into anti-Semitic rhetoric by invoking top White House aides during the Obama and Trump administrations. He says, I just got to go right to the heart of this anti-Semite claim that's happening. This is something. If you read the definition, it says you can't claim there's multiple people inside of banks or in media that are all Jewish or you're anti-Semitic. And that's the truth. Like, it's the truth. Tim Pool then said, elaborate, what do you mean? Then Ye said, I'm saying, like, I've been labeled an anti-Semite, right? So there's different beliefs about our bloodlines, you know? Like the documentary that Kyrie Irving posted, and in general, America's been left ignorant and the history has been changed. So when we start questioning things that question the indoctrination, then you immediately get, you know, demonized, demonetized. And what's so beautiful about this time is everyone got to see what's really been happening. And now we can really understand. We can see that Rahm Emanuel was next to Obama and Jared Kushner was next to Trump. Okay. Nami the Neko, thank you for redeeming your points for... Fucking degen. This feels like a rant. Yeah. During his rant, Ye told Pool that he would walk the fuck off the show if the interview turned into him defending himself. Pool later challenged Ye for invoking Emanuel and Kushner, asking him that isn't that an issue of these individuals rather than their identity? The rapper continued with his stream of consciousness instead. Pool said, you went right to the anti-Semite thing. I think it's something that should be talked about. But if you start bringing this up, you're going to ask my opinion on it, and I'm going to disagree with you. Ye fired back that I didn't ask your opinion on it. I don't care about anybody's opinion, bro. I lost. They tried to put me in jail. They blocked the $2 billion I had. Like when I told Louis Farrakhan the Jewish people allowed Obama to meet with the minister, you know. He continued that you're not going to take my pain away, right? The Jewish people say it's the Holocaust, this happened, and that you can't say anything about it. We can't take their pain away. No one's going to denounce the fact that they tried to lock me up. Because every time I'm just holding stride, and it's like I thought it was more Malcolm X, but I find out I'm more MLK because I'm getting hosed down by the press and financially, and I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, I was like a dog was biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost, but I still walked stride through it. And then of course Tim Pool said, I think they've been extremely unfair to you. I don't think they have. And then Ye said, who is they? We can't say who they is, can we? And then Tim Pool clarified that it was the press. I don't use the word the way you guys use it. And then Fuentes says, it is them, though, isn't it? And then Tim Pool said, no. And then, you know, we already saw in the clip, Kanye says, what do you mean it's not? As Pool attempted to respond, the rapper stood up and began to walk out of the room. You guys want to bring that stuff up and think we're not going to have a conversation? You think Ye's going to come in here and say, here's my pain, here's my suffering, and I say, I hear you, and then he's going to say, and it was Jewish people. I'm going to be like, but don't you consider? I'm not going to do this. I refuse. Poole then said, I can't say I'm surprised. What did I even do other than ask him to please elaborate on this? Are you referring to individuals, or are you quite literally blaming an entire group of people for the fact that powerful individuals are causing you harm? Christenios, thank you for the follow. And that's the end of the Fox News article. So it's very, very straightforward. No flowery language in this one, just very, very, here's an anti-Semite, here's the things that were said, here's a summation of what went viral. I want to look at the comments real quick. Nationalist, person who strongly identifies with their own nation and vigorously supports its interests. Globalist, a person who advocates for interpretation of planning and economic and foreign policy in relation to events and development throughout the world. I wish those two words only meant that. Dispatch says, I'm actually having a hard time following the conversation. I don't think it's just me. I actually would like to hear his views if he's getting interviewed, but he doesn't seem willing to be challenged with questions or even to clarify what he's saying. The attitude will leave him without an audience. I wish that was the truth. Fox News, New York Post, anti-Trump news agencies. God damn it. The otherizing in this comment section is astounding. Marianne says JQ posting. I wouldn't be surprised. It's the Fox News comment section. All right, let's see how the exact same news coverage is done when done by Daily Beast. Let's see how it changes. So, Kanye West's first extended interview since his meeting with former President Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago lasted about 20 minutes. The artist, now known as Ye, stormed out of a sit-down with reactionary social media performer Tim Pool after the host lightly pushed back on Ye's meandering, paranoid, and yet largely uninterrupted anti-Semitic rant that opened the show. During that 20-minute stretch, West offered a sprawling, aggrieved commentary railing against those he believed had harmed him, including but not limited to a designer at Adidas who Ye is convinced was CIA and somehow also a Zionist plant. We're getting a lot more information out of the Daily Beast article. Hollywood executives, The Gap, his former trainer, and also in Ye's mind, a Canadian deep state agent, and of course, the fictional Jewish cabal in charge of both banking and media. He said it was like American History X, like my head was on the side of the curb, and the exact people that I called out kicked my head. Okay. The rapper appeared to back Brooklyn net star Kyrie Irving, who posted similarly anti-Semitic material and talked about the true bloodlines of black people. Oh yeah, because one of Kanye's defense here has been like, I can't be anti-Semitic because I am black. Rahm Emanuel was next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump, with ending with a da-da musical flourish to punctuate his anti-Semitic talking points about Jews being puppet masters. During the brief pause in his near monologue, Poole told Ye, I think they've been extremely unfair to you. Of course, we've got all... We don't need to read all that again. That's the same thing that happened in the other article. Fuentes left as well, as did the evening's third guest, Milo Yiannopoulos, the far-right troll and former Breitbart tech editor who was drummed out of the conservative movement in 2016 for his seemingly blithe attitude towards relations between adult males and minors. Like Fuentes, Yiannopoulos also joined Ye's campaign team in some capacity. Earlier on the show, he'd praised Fuentes to the hilt, calling the Charlottesville marcher... Stop the Steel pusher and pro-Hitler pundit the most extraordinarily brilliant political commentator of his generation. Yiannopoulos at times has claimed Jewish lineage himself, but that self-identification has apparently been dropped after he tumbled farther into the fringes of the conservative media ecosystem, along with an insistence that he'd cured himself of his homosexuality and posted threats about harming another far-right personality's dog. Yiannopoulos did not immediately respond to the Daily Beast for comment. In between Yee's rambling, the trio did provide some new information. The meal with Trump was originally scheduled to take place in October, but the former president postponed it after announcing his 2024 run. During that same time period, Yee was involved in a series of bizarre public appearances and began making more explicitly anti-Semitic statements, including the tweeted promise to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people and blaming Jewish media and Jewish Zionists for his troubles. Though it didn't make the final cut, he also implied during an interview with Tucker Carlson that fictional children were being placed in his home. What? What? That one was new. Whether those incidents gave Trump reason to delay their meeting, West didn't say. He brought Fuentes along with him because he was rolling with me. I said I was impressed with Nick, and I was like, just come to the dinner. Indianapolis was also in favor of Fuentes' presence at the meal. He said he's been treated just as badly as anybody. Well-deserved. I don't find Fuentes to be deserving of much positive anything. So I thought he deserved to be in the room too. And then it goes into some information about Tim Pool afterwards, how he made his name in conservative media. Okay. So, all in all, the difference in the way these two articles is written is a little astounding. So the Daily Beast is certainly more flowery with the way it describes things. But it also goes into a lot more detail. The Fox News article covering it pulls no punches in the first, 3 or 4 paragraphs, and then leads into just the information, and that's it afterwards. Whereas the Daily Beast article adds a lot more context to the information that is available. You learn a lot more from the way that this is written in the Daily Beast article than you do in the Fox News article. And despite there being a little more, op-ed type language, a little more flowery language being used in the Daily Beast article, I think I find the information in the Beast article a lot more important. Because if you didn't know Milo Indianapolis, Tim Pool, Nick Fuentes, if you didn't know any of those names going into reading the Fox News article, it reads as very cut and dry. But if you read it from the Daily Beast article, you get the context behind who each and every one of these people are and what they mean to the larger conservative movement and their media ecosystem. I find that incredibly telling. It's almost as if there's a lot of information that Fox News omits so as not to paint conservatism as a whole as a problem. They just don't want to be on the side of flagrant anti-Semitism. Technically speaking. They don't want it to be known they are, at the very least. So bigotry in churches is much more common among evangelical Christians than mainline Christians. I mention those guys frequently because Kanye used to share the same socially conscious viewpoints, which is more or less liberal. So as not to hurt their audience's feelings. Basically, Fox News lost a lot of people when they started being more anti-Trump. I'm not going to say this speaks to their integrity. Just it speaks to the interesting circumstances. That said, this has been a very, very eventful video between disagreements in rhetoric and the actual analysis I was walking into the video to do. So hopefully, y'all got something out of this. There is certainly a lot more in this video than I originally intended. Maybe that's a good thing. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here.